tonight we're going to have to step back into the beginning because the topic tonight has to do with Ka Metaphysics, the art of manifestation. That is, we want to look at manifestation on a deeper level. Now, why am I taking you on this journey? As we move into the summer months, I'm going to have a 8-week course or master course, mastermind that is combined for individuals who really want to master the art of manifestation. Some of you know it as LOA or Law of Attraction. And because many people jumped into the Law of Attraction solely with the purpose of believing that they can manifest all kinds of things. And for many people, they did manifest on a hit and miss basis. But I believe that if you understand that the law of attraction is one of many laws, about 12 laws, they're aspects of one law, the law of creation. And so tonight I wanted to begin this conversation over the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably 3 to 4 weeks in the month of June. On Tuesday nights, I'm going to be talking about manifestation. But inside of the conversation of manifestation, I'm going to talk about some other essentials in order that you're not just jumping into this thing prepared. You're not really understanding of all the things, the principles that should go into it. So when you begin to operate according to these principles, you can become what I would call a masterful manifester. And there's a reason why I want you to know that. Tonight I want to focus on a couple of things in particular. I want to focus on creation, creator, man, and manifester. But before I go there, I want to, for those of you who are watching on the YouTube live, I want to say good evening. If you would like to, you can hit the subscribe button, and that'll ensure that you will not miss every Tuesday when I come on with these teachings. In addition to that, if you subscribe, you have access to the on-demand library. There's over 150 some odd videos out there. I know for some of you just tuning in, this is the first time you see my face. You didn't even know I existed. However, you know now. And I have a variety of topics out there. I'm not one-dimensional. I'm multi-dimensional on a variety of topics as it relates to how those topics impact people or melanated people, people of African descent, first frequency people, the reality of how it impacts all people. So I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button, also hit the like button. That way you will be able to receive emails from me. Now, if you hit the like button, usually in the description area, if you go down in there after this video, I will post a link that allows you to sign up for my emails. That way you have a more intimate relationship with me. So I want to say good evening. Thank you for joining me. Your time is as important. It's the most important resource you have is your time, and that you're spending some of your time. No, you're allocating. I don't believe in spending. Spending has another connotation, but you're allocating a portion of your time. And if you can't give me your undivided attention, and this is for not just those on YouTube, but those in the Zoom room this evening, if you can't give your undivided attention, it's better that you give your attention to the thing that you are sharing your time with. That has some importance. Go ahead and take care of that, because you can always come back and get in on the on-demand. But for those of you who want to be inside of this conversation, present to the conversation, available to the dialogue that will take place, stick around for the get down. Okay, I'm Ausar, also known as Greg Stanton. I am the spiritual facilitator for Oasis. I am the facilitator for the Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living. Divine living because I believe that we are not just mere men and women, but we are divine spiritual beings called to have a masterful human experience. But because we have never ascended back to our original state of being after being born into this world, we descend, we move from our highest frequency, our highest manifestation, our truest form, into this form called a human being. This is substantiated when you read Genesis chapter 1, when it talks about let us make man in our image after our likeness, and after its image we were created male and female. Now, for many people, they think there's two people being created there. In all actuality, there was the prototype of the spirit being. The male and female represents the energy, divine masculine and the divine feminine. And then in Genesis chapter 2, we have the actual formation. Creation always precedes formation. Now, these are critical principles that you pick up, because if you don't pick these principles up, you're going to be manifesting on a hit or miss basis. As a spiritual scientist, I make it my business to look at all the steps, to understand all the critical factors in order for me to be a true manifester. So in Genesis chapter 2, we hear some people say that's the same story. They're two different stories. Genesis chapter 1 is the metaphysical, spiritual story. Genesis chapter 2 is the physical story of matter, the formation of man. So man, before he was formed, for it was formed, existed as a spirit being that ran two energies, divine masculine and divine feminine. Man now is formed from the rich fertile soil of the Nile Valley, and formed as a man and a woman, in order that these forms could procreate. Source, Nataru, nature, created a masculine male and a feminine female. Created a man with a phallus and a woman, or a penis, or Tekken. When you see that statue that's in Washington, D.C., that tall statue, that's a Tekken, which represents a phallus, which represents a penis, which represents procreation, which represents Ausar. Now, then there was a womb man created. That was a divine feminine woman who was created with the innie, with a uterus, with a vagina. Now, I have to set things. There's a way that's known to man, and then there's a perfect way that is known to spiritual beings. So this conversation is not throwing judgments. It's setting records straight. To procreate, you must be able to run two energies, divine masculine and divine feminine, inside of yourself. When you look at the caduceus, the medical symbol, you see what people appear to think are snakes, but it represents masculine and feminine energy rising to the apex to create something. In this case, it creates wholeness, health, and healing. Now, I don't want to take for granted that you know what I'm talking about. That's why I take time as a teacher to help you understand some basic things before we move into the next aspect of our lesson. So you're drawn here tonight because you're familiar with the law of attraction. You're drawn here tonight perhaps because you want to know how to be more masterful in manifesting. And so I want to start first with helping you to understand that we are part of creation. We are part of the super consciousness. We are co-creators, not creators. Co-creators because you and I was in the beginning. You are an eternal being. You came from the spirit realm, or the Ka. Okay, the Ka represents is the Nile Valley civilization spiritual system that defines what the Western science or the Western religious systems calls God. Before there was ever a concept of God, there was the concept of Ka, the invisible, the divine intelligence, which we are all a part of. We are an aspect of it. That's why when we say we are God, we are not saying we are the Ka, with the capital K A, but the lowercase k a, representing we are an aspect of divinity. Okay? Now, I want to take you through this in a way that it makes sense. The reason why I bring up that we are not creators, but co-creators, because there's only one creator, which we are a part of. So we can create things from the aspect of being co-creators. Now, secondly, we are manifestors. Why are we manifestors? Because when we were dropped into this realm, we were called man. Manifestors is those beings with the ability to create from matter material things. So I say it's more proper to see yourself as a manifester along with being a co-creator. As the manifester, I'm in total control. As the co-creator, I create alongside of. Now, when you understand that you and Source or the Father, now let me use this example. Because my spiritual system that I have been practicing all of my life, that I was born into, that I had a contractual agreement to come into experience. Now, I believe that every individual who is born, you're born to the right family, into the right system, and that system includes your religious belief system. It's that religious belief system that you have to be untethered from, but at the same time, it gives you an aspect of God to deal with that dimension or that version of Source or the idea of Source. So I live inside of the paradigm of Christianity, but not Christianity as we know it. Christianity, like all of the major religions, has their origins in the Nile Valley spiritual systems. They have been taken by individuals and overlaid with the cultural beliefs that those individuals had, and they made it their own. But whenever you take something from its original state and make it your own and alter it and don't understand why it was put together in the way that it was put together, then you will not have the same level of accuracy or power that the originators operated in that thing in. That is why I played the song this morning, In the Beginning. We have to go back to the beginning. We have to reformat. We have to erase our disk, and we have to take on the downloads that will allow us to upload the frequencies that come from the universe. So we see man is created both as a spirit being first, formed as a human being second. The human being is just the shell that allows you to operate in this dimension. And some of us are male and some of us are female, in order that we can procreate. Our sexuality is for two things. On one level, is to procreate, to produce children. On another level, my being a male is an aspect, or gives me a physical view of the divine masculine. But it's only a your body is a metaphor. It helps you understand the divine masculine. When you look at a Ausar man, you're looking at one who has mastered the divine masculine and feminine in it. When you look at an Aset woman, you're looking at a divine woman that has mastered or run a divine masculine and feminine energy in balance. We don't know these concepts. We hear people talking about it's the year of the woman. You're doing the same thing that those individuals who said it was the time of the man. No, it's the time for us to rise to. Women should be ascribing to become the Aset. That is, the ability to run the male-female energy in its proper form that you can manifest as Aset. Same with the men. So Ausar is not just the name, it's a title. It's a title. And we are all, both male and female, are Heru. We're sons of Source or God Most High. Or we are the offspring. Okay? So I wanted to start this afternoon, even though morning starts in the evening if you didn't know it. The evening and the morning was the first day. So we're in that part of the day, which is the beginning. And your life begins in darkness. Your day begins in darkness. Why? Metaphorically, when you learn to live from the darkness to the light, you're understanding how to create from the unseen to the seen. So when we say we're children of the light, there's a metaphor there, because we are also children of the dark. That is, it takes dark and light to create. So when we look at the Nile Valley civilizations, when you understand what the civilization was all about, and it was about transformation. It was about coming into this earth realm, but reconnecting to source. When you look at this is beautiful. When you look at the story of Ausar, how he was dismembered by his brother Set. Now, most people don't realize you will say, if you look at that story, you will say there's two people, but Ausar and Set operate in all of our bodies. Many people never rise to their Ausarian, or to this place of Ausar, or their place of Aset, because of Set, because of that low energy or that human energy. So your human self is always trying to segment you, dissect you, so that you cannot be whole. So the question this evening, will I be made whole? These are scriptures we hear. These are conversations we've had inside of traditional Christianity, but we've been talking from a metaphor, believing that the metaphor was the essence of the whole thing. But the metaphor was presenting a lesson for those who were in the masses, or the exoteric learners, but there was a secret behind it. Because of information today, there's not many things that are esoteric. I would say the only true esoteric things are those things that are tied to what I would say Nile Valley civilizations and the Kemetic thought processes, because that's yet to be uncovered. So we have a lot of things that used to be esoteric, which was hidden, which are now exoteric. Like when you look at the Masons and all these people that secret societies, all of their information is easily accessible. One they they walk around with the symbols on and all those things. So it's not a secret society anymore. It's a well-known society, and the information can be found. That's neither here nor there. I'm not bashing. I'm not saying there's anything negative about it, but I'm just saying that which used to be not common is now common to a lot of people. You don't even have to be in the society to learn the information of the society. So I want to start with the story. When we look in the Bible, Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1 tells of a story of creation, also known as the cosmology story. Why are we talking about how the cosmos was created? Because when we're talking about manifestation, we have to understand that things that we are created in its image after its likeness. So that means that we should be creating in our worlds through manifestation using the exact same principles that the Creator uses. Because we don't understand the principles that the Creator used, we don't find ourselves being able to rise into the propensity of God-like beings. So when you look in Genesis chapter 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the heavens were and the earth was void and without form. So it tells you right now, there first, the heavens and the earth, all things that were created, first were created from the place of the imagination. They came from the place of the field. Now, you may say, where are you getting all this stuff from? First of all, when I used to read just the Bible, I had these interpretations that gave me a better sense of how creation went forth. I wasn't taking it as a literal story. Then when I began to study the Kemetic sciences, and about 2 years ago, I came across this really wonderfully put together book. And I know why it's wonderfully put together, because this brother used to teach kindergarten, and his name is Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene. He has a book that he's written called Spirituality Before Religions. Spirituality is unseen science, and science is seen spirituality. That's this book. Now, I encourage everybody to get this book. If you really want to be a masterful manifester, if you want to understand how the universe operates according to the stories that were told thousands of years ago before we got our biblical story, which is the biblical story is an adulterated form of the Memphite theology. Okay, so I want to share with you a little bit about me theology. I know some of you guys say I tuned in tonight because I want to learn how to manifest. That's one of the biggest issues. We have a lot of people desiring to manifest, but they don't want to take time to learn how to manifest. One of the things you have to know, even though you have the ability to manifest, you don't want to be an isfet. I mean, you don't want to be creating things out of alignment with your design. Earlier, I talked about each of us was born to a perfect family at a perfect time. And you have to know that you have a soul contract that you came here to fulfill. When the universe broke itself off, it came down into the fallopian tubes of your mom. The universe knew that by coming through the seed of your dad and being cultivated in the womb of your mom, that you will be an authentic version. There's no one else like you. There could be two of you in the same womb. In some cases, 3, 4, 6 of you. No, not 6. 4 of you in the same womb. Each one of those children are unique in and of themselves. Though they're born on the same birthday, none of them born at the same time. Born in the same season, but not on the same second. Each one of us are born to the right parents. Some of you think being born to that set of parents have made you a victim. It has only prepared you to be a victor. If you realize and come into the agreement that you are a participant in the life that you're living, in the environment that you were born in, you have the ability to have dominion over it. The word says he created us, male and female, created he them. He gave them dominion over all in this realm. The scripture tells us this. I can't speak to the Quran. I can't speak to any other holy books. The one thing I find a peace with is knowing somehow our ancestral wisdom has been passed down to us in this coded book called the Bible. So for those who have not had intimate encounters with the Bible, will see it just as a book that a group of people believe as history. But there's a lot of us who see this book as a mystery book, my story book. It's not a history book. It puts us in direct contact with a stream of information that goes all the way back. It was taken and it was adulterated, but it allowed the truths to be transported. But now it's time for us who use this book to relook, to decode it, and to understand what is being said in the book. This is a book, the Bible is a book about manifestation and how to do it, how to master this thing called life. Had a person that is spoken to in the name under the name of Jesus or Yeshua, because J didn't exist. And I don't take his story on as something that actually happened. I take it on the same way I take on the story of Ausar, Aset, and Haru. It's not so much the messenger as it is the message that you have to get from them. So one of the things that Jesus said is a greater work you should do. But I don't see believers, I don't see Christians doing the greater work. Now, I could speak because I operated in a pastoral office for 30 years. I probably know a little bit more than the average person about the scriptures. I probably have done a lot more experiments to see what works if you work it and what works what won't work even if you work it. And so when you hear scriptures like a greater work you shall do, then you should say, well, why am I not doing a greater work? Or when you read in the scriptures where Jesus said he did not consider it robbery to consider himself equal with God. And so because he saw himself equal with God, but yet he had a balance to understand that he did no thing except he first saw and heard his father or source doing it. So as sorcerers, as manifestors, as co-creators, one of the things we should be doing is seeking to know first and foremost, what did I come here to do, be, or experience? Because if you start creating from the perspective of the flesh, you're going to bring all kinds of things into your life that could potentially get in the way of you never fulfilling your soul contract. That's part of the weighing of the heart piece too. You know, when you die and you look at the fact that did you bring it to one? Did you reconcile? Okay, reconciliation is a term that is a accountant term. Back in the day, when you used to get your bank statements in, there was a reconciliation page where you can reconcile. You can put everything that went out and see everything that went in, and you can see it should come to one. It actually should come to zero. It should come to none. It should go back to the place from which it all came. And we're going to talk about that. So I'm looking at my time here. I don't want to rush through this. I'm going to take the next 3 weeks to really drill down into some basic things. And then those who find that what I'm talking about makes sense will have the option to join me in an 8-week manifestation course. Why is it going to be an 8-week course? Because I want you to identify one thing that you're going to work the principles of manifestation and bring it into realization. You're going to bring it from the unseen to the seen realm. And if you use these principles, then you should be able to apply them in other areas of your life for other things that you want to manifest. So I want to start tonight, since I got about 20 more minutes, I want to start with creation, not from the biblical perspective, but the biblical perspective is taken from this perspective. There was a stone that was found called the Shabaka stone. And the Shabaka stone has what we call the Memphite theology, or the cosmological story of creation. This is one of three creation stories that you will find attributed to the Nile Valley civilization. This is believed to be the oldest of all the stories, the Memphite theology. And if you want to verify what I'm talking about tonight, you can use Dr. Khamenei's book. You can Google, you can go to the library, you can do your research about the Memphite theology. Now, one of the things you have to understand, the Memphite theology, although it comes from the Shabaka stone and it comes from the Nile Valley civilization, you have to also be careful of whose interpretation you are getting it. If you're getting it from the Eurocentric view, where their worldview is different, they will give a different interpretation. Example, the Eurocentric worldview says that the African, or the Kemites, or the Kemetic people, or the Nubians, or the Nile Valley people, whatever you want to call them, first frequency people, black people, melanated people, Negroes, no, they weren't Negroes. You have to understand that their worldview was different. The Europeans thought that the African, or the Nubian, or the individuals who was inside of the Nile Valley spiritual system worship many things. They believe that animism. They worship trees. They worship the cow. They worship the jackal. They worship the hawk. They worship the beetle. All these zoo types, but they didn't worship them. There were aspects in that particular animal. There was something that was keen about it that represented an aspect of the divine. And so they acknowledged it. And so it's wrong for the African to have these aspects, but it's okay for the European to take and give different aspects to God, to say he's Jehovah Jireh, to say he's Jehovah Teniskasu, to say that he's Jehovah Shalom. So all these names, but we say it's okay because we know they're talking about aspects. Well, if they can be talking about aspects using different names, why can't we be talking about aspects using different things of nature and what nature has created to show an aspect of source? The best way to define source is to look around, because everything that has been created was created by source and represents source on some level. So when we look at the Memphite theology, I like it because it gives us what's known as tephesi, that is an accurate reckoning of things, or the origin of things. And so I wanted to start by sharing with you first the Trinity, the creation Trinity. And this is important because in order for things to be created, they had to be created with the power of three. And the power of three was three aspects to the first original Trinity. The first was what's known as water or matter, or the none. Okay, so you have the waters of none. Okay, that's important. That's an aspect of the Trinity. And then there was Ptah, okay, which represented the energy, or the animating cosmic spirit. And the third thing was Adam. So you had, out of the waters of none came the heel. So the heel is likened to the pregnant woman. When she's pregnant, the first time that it was observed a woman's pregnancy, man had no clue what that was. But he saw his the woman, I wouldn't say wife because this concept of marriage and wife is totally westernized, but he saw her stomach grow. It was like a hill. And then ultimately her water broke, so he saw the waters of noon. And then the child came forth, which was Atum. And when we look at the creation story, it says, let us, the Christian creation story, say, let us make man. And so when we want to manifest something, we should be saying, let us. That is, the spirit that is in us, the unseen from which we come, working together to create. But we do it isfit. We're doing it in a ego-driven state. The Word of God says that if you are carnally minded, that if you are making decisions solely based on intellect, based on the sensory realm, then you are dead, meaning you will not be fruitful. You will not hit the manifestation level that you could possibly reach. Stop attempting to manifest things that don't align with your highest and greatest good. Some of you don't need to manifest a home. Some of you may need a house. You may need to be manifesting an apartment. You may need to manifesting a bus ticket every month. You may not need to be manifesting a car. So you really got to get quiet and know who you are, what you came here to be, to do, and to experience. So we have the original creation is the nun, N-U-N, Ptah, which is the energy, which is the animating cosmic spirit, the primal heel, and then Atum, where we get the word Adam from. Okay, same words. Okay, Adam represents the sun, and the Greeks tell us that Jesus is the logos, the word. Okay, so Adam is the spoken word. Now, it represents creative intelligence. Now, I'm giving you something here. When we talk about the Trinity, many times people talk about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's the Greek, that's the European Trinity. The original Trinity, the first Trinity. Some people will say that the first Trinity is Ausar, Aset, and Heru. Or if you into the Greek thing, you say Osiris, Isis, and Horus. That's taken from the original Hesefi. Let's go back to the beginning. It comes from Ausar, Aset, and Heru. But before there was an Ausar, an Aset, and a Heru, there was the Nun, the Ptah, and Atum. Okay, that's important that you know that. Now, I like in his book, he says the Memphite text is an African allegory concerning the events that led up to the creation of the cosmos. Okay, so that's important. It tells us how the cosmos is our cosmological story. Now, I wanted to start with that because it's going to be important that you understand to you are attuned. You have the power of the word in your mouth. The word says, in your mouth is life and death is in the power of the tongue. So the spoken word is very critical when it comes to co-creating. We have in our lives what we've spoken into our lives. Before a word is spoken, it is a thought, or also tehuti. Intelligence is wisdom. So what you have to guard your thoughts. Pay attention to what you're thinking. Many of you are not masterful manifestors because you're not able to hold a thought. You have shiny things that divert your attention. That's why when you get one of the things you will learn in this 8-week course is to get clear. And the moment you get clear and learn what it is you desire, then you can hold that frequency. And the stronger you can hold that frequency, that thing will manifest, that thing will come to you in your life. Now, I know somebody is saying, oh, that's hogwash. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever tried it? Don't say something doesn't work if you've never tried it. That's a big mistake a lot of conscious people make when it comes to putting down individuals' religious systems that they're not familiar with. And though some people may say, well, I was in Christianity, but then I have to ask them, what aspect were you of Christianity? Were you a Baptist? Were you holiness? Were you Lutheran? Were you Episcopalian? Because each one of them had their strengths and weaknesses. I've had the opportunity to move through quite a number of different Protestant sects, denominations. And one of the things I found, unless you've been inside of certain denominations, you have never seen the power. So that's where I'm at this point in my life. I've seen the power. I've experienced the power. I'm saying it's time for us to hold all these talking heads accountable. Like even now, I could just be giving you all this information, but this is going to culminate into a practice. It's going to culminate into an application. And at the conclusion of the application, if it don't work, then you can lambaste it. You can say that stuff don't work. But many times we saying things don't work because we have not been working it in the right way. And that's what I want to do. Oasis Spiritual Center for Divine Living. It's a lifestyle. It's a practice. So when you look at this cosmological story that is given to us, when we look at atom, which is the equivalent to Jesus, the Son, the Word. We say Jesus is the Word. Jesus is the Logos. It's the atom. It's you. And so, go to John chapter 1. It says, in the beginning was the Word, the Logos. If you want to just stay with Greek. No, I believe I move beyond Greeks because the Greeks didn't appear out of nowhere with all this information. They got it. The Greeks went to Northern Africa to learn this stuff. Okay? So you can go learn something, but if you don't understand, like I can learn Spanish, but if I don't understand the cultural context in which certain words are used, I could say something and not have the right context, and they're looking at me like they're crazy. So just because you have the information don't mean you have the application. And so when we look at the word Adam, it says Jesus was the first Adam. Okay? That means the atom. The physical man Jesus, for those who believe in the physical man Jesus, was the first atom. And so that represents each one of us. And so when you look at John chapter 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. In the beginning was the atom, and the atom was with God. And it goes on and says, there was nothing that was created except the Word created it. The Word created it. So we got to come to an understanding that creation starts with the spoken word, but the spoken word is the end product of the thought or the thing imagined. So you got to learn that your imagination cultivates your thought. Your thought creates a word. A word that is spoken is a word of power. A word of formation. That's what we have to understand. And we're going to talk about those things. So tonight I want to share that aspect with you, and I want to share something else with you also. So we first know that the original creation story, that the Neset Biti, or the pharaohs. So we want to get rid of the word pharaoh. We want to get rid of the word king. We keep calling ourselves kings. Kings is a Eurocentric terminology. Africa did not have kings. And then we see they had chiefs. Now they didn't have pharaohs. That was a name given to them by the Europeans. It's the Neset Biti, which represents the word that represents the pharaoh. And so a Neset Biti can be looked at as a divine being. That's what you are. So they were divine beings, okay? And the one thing that I found when I looked at this is there was some things you need to know. First of all, when you understand the Memphite theology, it talks about the essence of how things were created, the order and the arrangements of these things. He says here in this book on page 112, and I highlighted it for you tonight. The Memphite text structures the early African ideas about creation. Adam or Atum was the creative word. And now we're talking about manifestation, we're talking about creation, and so the word is important. Thought is important. It says Adam, the creative word coming out of Ptah, which is the primordial hill, okay, energy system, who came out of Nun or Nun, N-U-N, well, the zero, everything that was created is in the zero, okay? It says, out of the primordial waters, the material system, once it's united, this Trinity brought forth the essence of pre-existing order. From the field is pre-existing order. Though you cannot see it, it already existed, okay? It brought forth a pre-existing order and arrangement. The 8 definitional characteristics of the cosmos or the universe that always existed but had not been brought into existence by Atum given each name, but had not been brought into existence by Atum given each a name. So until everything exists, anything that will ever be created already exists in the field of the Nun, or they call it the quantum field. They call it the zero field. The zero field, inside that zero, everything exists. People look at it as chaos, but it's not chaos. Chaos is just undifferentiated energy. When chaos is differentiated by calling it something, it takes form. When man was undifferentiated, we were just spirit beings. But then when Source placed us in the form, we became differentiated. You have the male man and you have the womb man. But both the male man and the womb man as containers contain the divine masculine and the divine feminine. The biggest error that's being made today is individuals think just because you are a male, you run the divine masculine, or women run the divine feminine. As divine beings, you run both energies. And until you learn how to harmonize, dance with those energies, like going up the chakra system, the caduceus, up the cross, and being crucified, you will not come forth as the Ausar or the Asat. You will not be what I would like to call as being born again or rebirthed. So these 3, Nun, Ptah, and Atum, Atum then begins to create the world by the words he spoke. Now he created, and I'm going to end with this. I want you to know, many of you are walking around with the Ankh around your neck, the Ankh, and that's really interesting that we have this symbol around our necks and we have no clue about what they mean. We wear them on our arms. The word Ankh, if you look at the word Ankh, it's spelled A-N-H-K. A-N-H-K. You ask the average person, what does it mean? And they will tell you it means life. That's true. That's not the in-depth definition of it, because the word Ankh is actually what we call an acrostic. An acrostic is like when you take a poem and use the first name, like my name is Gregory. If you take the G, G means gregarious, R means redemptive, E means emperor. So so you give every letter means something. So the Ankh itself also has 8 aspects to it. And it's important that you know these things because we have to understand how all of this works together. Now, I talk about Ka Metaphysics. So in regular metaphysics, none of this stuff would be brought up. But I'm talking about Ka Metaphysics. I'm talking about it from the Ka, the spirit, of our ancestors and how they use this as a science. And so there's the A in Ankh represents Amen and Amenet. Do you know that, did you? It's not a man, but you have it in at the end of all your prayers. You say Amen. That's incorrect. It's Amen. Amen is the divine masculine energy, was the concealed one, invisible to the eye. It's named by Atum to remain unseen, unheard, untouchable, without smell or taste, but forever present. It is the spirit of science, the divine masculine. The other A, or the divine feminine aspect of that A, is Amenet. And Amenet was the revealed one who could be seen by the eye. Through her all-seeing eye, the cosmic universe thinks, sees, hears, touches, smells, tastes. Mother Earth, Amenet. It is through Amenet that humanity, spirituality, experience her invisible mate, Amen. She is the science of his spirit. So A in Ankh represents Amen, Amenet. Okay, then we have the N, which represents Nun, Nun, N-U-N, where we get the word N-O-N-E, none. Zero means nothing, but everything that is created from nothing. So you have the N represents none and nonette. Okay, none being the male, nonette being the female. And when I say male, I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about energy. None being the divine masculine, and nonette being the divine feminine. It is important to note that the nun is the same nun from the primate of the essences. Before the beginning began, none was nameless. However, once named, none took on the physical form of matter or water. That's why it says, except the man is born of water and spirit. See, we got this, getting how you get saved. Except you are born of water and spirit. Okay, it says, none was where everything was, where everything and all lived. The invisible, the quantum field, the things that exist. None was the original ancient place of beginnings. He was the matter of the cosmic fact. None represents the moisture of rain and wetness of the rivers, oceans, waters in the cosmic universe. You need none. You need none, the fluid, in order to bring forth a child. Nonette is the divine feminine aspect. In his book, he calls it the counter heavens. That is, she was where the clusters, and galaxies first appeared. The stars commenced to shine, and the air began to breathe. Nonette permitted the sky to be. So you got the A and the N. We're talking about the Ankh now. The A, N, Nun, and Nonette. And then you have the H, which is the H and Huhet. The Hu or Ha represents the divine masculine for infinity. It was countless, limitless, without boundaries, and should endure forever in immortality for eternity. Huhet is the divine feminine aspect of these 8 things that was named by Atum, was destined to be the boundaries for everything, and all things will come to be in the cosmic universe. She could be counted, measured, and numbered. That's what Huhet represents. And then the final letter in Ankh is the K. You get the Kuk and Kukhet. The Kuk represents the divine masculine, and he says was the unknown, the ignorant. And it's okay you got to respect that you all have a level of unknownness, of ignorance. Ignorant does not mean denote a negative thing. It says there's something lacking. He was the source from where all light drew her strength. Kuk was the sunless shadows of dark, unknown nights. Kukhet, which is the female energy, brought the glowing intelligence of the light of day into existence. When it says in the beginning, when he says, "Let there be light," before there was light, there was this illumination. There was coquette. It wasn't the light that came forth from the stars and the sun. It was this natural illumination that existed. From her perspective, the fiery rays of knowledge were created. So there you have 8 aspects of the original creation. And so when we understand creation story, now we can understand how we operate inside of the cosmos, how we operate as one. You cannot operate with one like the two becoming one. A husband and a wife, they never become physically one, but they reconcile. They get to the points of the what we call the zero field. They get to the place where they can coexist in harmony and balance. And so as we prepare to be divine or master manifestors, we first have to understand the universe. One verse, the power of one word. And so if we can learn to not be double-minded, but we're able to hold on to a word, you can call those things that are not as though they were. And so that's what I'm going to begin to unpack for you as we move into the next 3 weeks. So you can listen to this again. Reference material, I recommend the Holy Bible. I recommend, again, Spirituality Before Religions. Spirituality is Unseen Science, and Science is Seen Spirituality by Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene. You can go to his website. Probably want to go there and see if you can order his book off of that so he can get the credit for it. Or you can go on out to Amazon and order it there. So when we move down the road a little bit further, you have a foundation to stand on. That you have the ability to create through co-creation, to manifest the thing that you were designed to come here, do, be, have, and experience. Many of us are experiencing things in our lives that we've created. We've created because we're not walking intuitively. We are walking according to intellect. We are walking according to the sight. But as first frequency people, as melanated people, as children of the light, children of the dark, we have to learn to walk from the darkness to the light. The one thing about the darkness, when you are in darkness, you can't depend on your sensory realm. You have to depend on your intuitiveness. And that's why we spent 9 months of our creation in the womb of our moms in a dark place, learning to live in this realm this material realm from an intuitive place. But many people are afraid of the dark. The dark has been given a negative connotation. Dark magic. No, there's low frequency magic and there's high frequency magic. We should be operating in the highest frequency. And the highest frequency may be a low frequency to use, but it's being used in alignment with its design and its purpose. Just like a little cyanide can be medicinal and it can bring healing properties. Too much of it can kill you. So we have to learn how to operate in balance, not in isfet. We have to learn how to get back to the original meanings of things and operate from there. Awesome. Good. So that's what I want to leave you with tonight. I'm not moving through this quickly because when we start in the actual course, I want you to have this foundation. And I want you able to be able to keep up with me, knowing that we're not creating things, but we're co-creating. We're manifesting the things that align with our highest and greatest good. So if you are just wanting to take the course or be part of it, this experience just to manifest money, material things, you're in the wrong place. Okay, because many of us are seeking to manifest things that are coming from the outside versus manifesting that the word says source will give you the desires of your heart. If it's a desire that's coming from your heart, then you need to know how to manifest it. Because even though source gives you the desire, you have to manifest it. Source never moves anything into this earth Everything that's going wrong in this earth is not because of source, not because of the creator. It's because of mankind. It's because source created us. He gave us dominion over this realm. And us can destroy it, or us can make it right. And when this first frequency people start standing up, people of African descent, people who are melanated, begin to stand up and take their rightful places. The word says all creation awaits the sons and daughters to take center stage. We've for 4,000 or 5,000 years, no, let's say for 3,000 years, we've tried it the Eurocentric way, and look what we're getting. Now that's not, don't hear through racial ears. Hear what I'm saying. I'm saying the westernized way has gotten us in Isfet. It has gotten us in, we are not living in balance, we're not in Ma'at, and that, but the world is, the creation knows how to correct itself. I'm not saying that source put COVID on us, but creation knows how to purge itself. And some people get purged with it. Now, that's not to say anybody who died from COVID was evil or anything like that. I believe that all of us are appointed a time to die. Because we really never die. That is to step out of this earth suit. We are eternal beings. There's no such thing as death. That is a Western concept. The Africans believe in eternal life. That's why they prepared for it. Even though they may not have understood that you didn't need food and those kinds of things. But just in honor of that concept, they put the sacrificial foods there just as a metaphor to go into the next passage. All right, that's all I have this evening. Before I wrap it up.